Okay, we're back. This is the second Halloween video. I'm a sweaty mess because it's the middle of the day and we're about to go do a photo shoot of this. This is my friend Kiru.
Hey, what's up?
He's Heartman and he's pretty terrifying and I kind of like it. It's sort of what I saw in my head, but not quite, but it never is exactly what you see in your head until you start doing it. But this is our Bajan Heartman, and so, you know, stick around if you want to hear about Heartman and see how we did it, and then you get to see all the fun pictures at the end. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'm rolling now.
Just let me stick my heart in your chest.
Ew. Gross. Bloopers. Oh dear, Kiru is giving sexy eyes to the camera. So we're gonna go down a little bit because I have to actually capture his chest. Oh god. Oh dear.
I take so much credit for the smoothness of that chest right now.
Special thanks to Nia. Alright, so we're gonna use latex. Latex, can you see? And cotton. And I'm gonna, because my Heartman is gonna have an empty chest. So I'm just going to start by painting on latex onto Kiru's chest, sort of left of center, obviously, because the heart's not dead center. And I am just laying down latex with my chip brush and then layering cotton on top of that, and then going back and forth and making sure that it's sort of smoothed down. The hard part is that cotton wool tends to lift when you put latex over it, obviously. This is why people use tissue, but I didn't want to use tissue, so I just used my fingers and kept going over it as we went along. If I had to do this again, I would probably space the ribs out a little bit more, but it's okay. Hindsight is 2020. Voodoo, you know how voodoo priests will have like their paint, the face paint and stuff will actually be a little bit patchy and a little bit like powdery looking. I want to sort of try to recreate that. That's attractive.
Oh, damn. Sorry. Wow, hi guys.
It's cool. I forgive you. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do, while we're waiting for Kiru's chest to dry, because that's actually going to be a pretty quick paint job. It's the...
Look at this, guys. Got this done yesterday.
That was done yesterday, so we're going to try our best to be gentle with this piercing. But I'm going to cover his eyebrows with Prozaid.
If it ain't rough, it ain't right. I mean,
Prozaid,
yeah,
behave.
right. That.
Prozaid. And we're going to cover down his eyebrows. Because I'm also going to put some latex on his face.
Wait, what?
Yes. We're going to give him some cheekbones and some cheekbones and some brows.
Exaggerated eyebrows.
Exaggerated. So for this step, I'm going to use my spatula and I'm going to make sure that I get underneath his eyebrows. So I'm going to go backwards in them first, if that makes sense, and then press them down, going the right way afterwards, just to make sure that they're smoothed down properly and they stick down so that no latex can get under them. And then I'm going to just use the same technique as the ribs to build up his cheekbones and his eyebrows. So let's talk about Heartman. Do you know anything about Heartman?
Me?
Yeah.
Steals your heart. That's about it.
That's it? That's all you know?
Like, yeah. Am I not foreign?
He is true, you're foreign. But no, I mean, not a lot of people know. I don't even know where it came from.
Oh.
Where the stories came from. But he's basically a boogeyman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is so sticky because I have Prozaid on my fingers because I'm stupid. So Heartman is basically a boogeyman who comes for little kids who are naughty, you know, as boogeymen do.
That's like that old folklore in England where they tell the children, you know, if you behave bad, then lady's gonna come for you, and it's like this old hag with long ass fingers and she has it down the child's throat.
Yeah.
And she's eating the kid from the stomach.
Yeah, she's a type of sukuyan. We have that here too. Well, we have a type. They obviously it varies by regions and by the people who populate the regions. Then old mythologies take over and stuff. But the Heartman basically was made to scare the bejesus out of children. He drives around in a black hearse. Well, in some stories, he drives around in a black hearse, and he He lures kids to him with sweets. He's basically a boogeyman.
It's one of those pedophilistic people.
Yes, he's a pedophile, goddammit. Well, I mean, in recent years, we've come to think that he might, go after other people too. He might, because we don't know if he was actually human. Some people suggest that he was human and he would just carve out the kids' hearts. I don't know, out of some sort of sick pleasure.
Extra years of life.
Right? But I also read a couple stories that claim that he did not have a heart himself, that he was also somebody who behaved badly and whose heart was taken away, and that's why he shows up. And in any case, he also, if he's not driving a hearse, he hides in cane fields, and he creeps up to your window at night, and the last thing you hear is the heartbeat. Once he takes the hearts from the kids, he gives them to the devil.
Never mind.
As you do, because
How can I take a heart from a kid and give it to myself?
because Judeo-Christian values and all that. But anyway, so my Heartman is missing his heart. That's the idea. So for the most part, for his brows and his cheekbones, I'm using my spatula to try to smooth everything down and not my fingers as much because I don't want to smush them. And then when I move on to painting, I'm going to start out by taking the dark purple color from the Ben Knight Old Age character wheel, and I'm just going to deepen the shadows. And then I'm going to go back and forth between various shades of foundation as well as black liquid paint. I use very, very little of the paint and sort of let the brushes help me do the work of the blending. And I'm blending in all of his recesses under his collarbones. Kiru has amazing collarbones. And then, of course, we highlight. So this is just a simple paint. This is actually a simple painting job, and I'm going quickly. Never mind the sped up video. I actually went quite quickly because I wanted it to be rough. That was the point. The point was the roughness and the organicness of the paint job. When we're lifting up the heart hole, basically the edges of the heart hole, I'm making sure to rip some of the edges, and then I'm going to just fill it in with black paint and make sure that I get any cotton that might have not gotten saturated with latex. Make sure I paint that as well. It's going to give this really weird, stringy, gross effect. It's awesome. And then I'm going to move on to Kiru's face, and I'm going opposite. Instead of doing the shadows first, I want to cover his bony protrusions first. That way they just don't get muddy. So I'm covering them with a combination of foundations, and then I'm going to go back in with the same black liquid paint and deepen up the shadows. So I'm going for an approximate skull shape. I kind of am inspired by voodoo doctors, like I said, by the Shadow Man from The Princess and the Frog, that kind of look. So it looks sort of like a mask, but not quite like a mask. I'm kind of just going with the flow and seeing what happens. I have an idea in mind of the shape that I want, and then I'm just going to go for it. Black out of his nose for sure. The majority of the bottom half of his face is going to be blacked out. I left some space along the sides of his nasolabial folds because they kind of look like fangs. They kind of look cool. And you're just going with it. So you leave the things in that you like to see. When it happens, you're like, hey, that's kind of cool. We'll leave it in. And there it is. So for the last two steps, well, what I'm doing is I'm going back and forth between thin layers of powder and thin layers of paint or foundation, just to make sure it's all set. And then for the last two layers, which are the light layers, I'm going to go in with the pale beigey color from the same Ben Nye wheel. And now you see, this is why I did not want to smush down the ridges as I was putting them on with the latex, because now that I'm painting them and smushing them down and they're dry, they're giving us that really beautiful cracked effect, which is fabulous. It's what I wanted. I'm going to powder up one more time, and then the last highlight step is to go in with a chip brush, because it's going to give us nice texture. A chip brush and just a white clown white face paint, and stipple it over all the high points, not too perfectly. I'm going to do this on the ribs as well, and then I'm going to deepen up with some black eyeshadow, and that's it for the face. So the last thing we need for our Heartman is the heart prop, which I made out of a balloon blown up to the size of a fist, and then I used one more time latex and cotton to build up the shape. that dried yellow, and it gave us that really cool fatty texture that you have on the top of a heart. And I actually used the bits of latex that rolled off of my fingers as the veins. Painted the whole thing and slathered it with blood. It's not anatomically correct, but it looks good.